Winter has always been a time when people slow down and look for warmth. When the days grow shorter and the nights grow longer, the world feels quieter, softer, and sometimes a little lonely. The cold air touches everything, and people begin to gather close to fires, candles, and warm rooms. In this quiet season, we also become more thoughtful. We remember the year behind us, and we hope for a better year ahead. Today we call this season Christmas, and many people think they already know its story. Trees, lights, Santa, gifts, music, and snow. But the real story of Christmas is much older, deeper, and richer. It did not begin with presents. It did not begin with Santa Claus. It did not even begin with the birth of Jesus. The story of Christmas began long before these things existed, when ancient people tried to protect themselves from darkness and celebrate the return of light. In this lesson, you will hear the full story of Christmas told in simple, slow English. You will learn where the traditions came from, why people celebrate in December, and how different cultures created the special moments we now share each year. I will speak as if sitting beside you, calmly explaining each chapter so you can understand every idea and enjoy the warm, emotional feeling Christmas brings. The language will be clear and friendly, like a teacher guiding you through a story that is both old and new, familiar and surprising. Christmas is not only a holiday, it is a long human story about fear, hope, darkness, and light. So relax, breathe slowly, and follow this journey from the ancient world to the modern celebrations we know today. Chapter 2. Before Christmas. The ancient winter festivals. Long before anyone spoke the word Christmas, people all around the world faced the same problem. Winter was difficult. In places far from the equator, winter brought long nights, freezing air, and shorter days. People did not understand science the way we do today. They did not know why the days became short or when the sun would shine longer again. So when winter arrived, people felt afraid. They worried that the light might disappear forever. To protect themselves from fear, they created winter festivals, moments of music, fire, food, and community. These festivals help people feel safe, warm, and connected to one another. And many of these ancient traditions later became chapter of Christmas. One of the oldest and most important celebrations was the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. This was the day with the least sunlight and the longest night. To ancient people, this was a scary moment. They believed the sun was weak and might die if they did not show their support. So they lit fires, candles, and torches to help the sun return. Families gathered together, shared food, sang songs, and waited for the sun to grow strong again. The solstice was a celebration of survival. People did not know the calendar or scientific facts, but they knew one thing. After the longest night, light slowly returned. This brought great relief, and people celebrated with deep emotion. In the northern chapters of Europe, places like Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, people celebrated Yule. Yule was a long winter festival that lasted for many days. People brought large logs into their homes and burned them slowly. This was called the Yule log, and it could burn for days or even weeks. The fire symbolized protection, warmth, and life. Families sat around the bright flames to tell stories, cook food, and stay safe from the freezing nights outside. The Yule festival also included singing, drinking warm drinks, and sometimes giving small gifts. Many symbols of Yule, like evergreen trees, candles, and feasts, later became important parts of Christmas. Meanwhile, in ancient Rome, people celebrated a festival called Saturnalia. Saturnalia was very different from the quiet northern festivals. It was loud, colorful, and full of laughter. During Saturnalia, people exchanged small gifts, decorated their homes with greenery, and enjoyed large meals. Normal social rules were reversed. Slaves could rest and eat well, and masters served them. Everyone dressed in bright clothes, sang songs, and played games. Saturnalia was a joyful time when people could forget their worries and enjoy themselves. The spirit of Saturnalia, fun, brightness, generosity, and celebration, strongly influenced many of the traditions we see in Christmas today. All these festivals, Solstice, Yule, Saturnalia, and many others, were not about one religion or one belief. They were about survival. They were about hope. They were about holding on to light when the world felt dark and cold. Humans, no matter where they lived, found the same answer to winter: create warmth together. These ancient celebrations were the first seeds of what would later become Christmas. People did not yet talk about Santa, gifts under a tree, or nativity scenes, but they already understood the most important lesson: winter is easier when we stand together. As centuries passed, these ancient winter traditions stayed alive. They changed slowly, moving from one culture to another. When Christianity began to spread, these old customs did not disappear. Instead, they mixed with new meanings and new stories. This mixing created a powerful emotional celebration that people around the world now recognize. Before we reach that chapter of the story, the birth in Bethlehem and the date December 25th, we must understand that Christmas was built on thousands of years of human hope. Chapter 3: The Birth Story, a Child in Bethlehem. As winter festivals continued across different cultures, a new story slowly began to shape the world. This story did not come from Rome or from Northern Europe or from ancient fire rituals. It came from a small town in the Middle East. To understand Christmas fully, we must understand this chapter as well, because the celebration we know today carries pieces from both ancient traditions and this new gentle story about a child born in difficult circumstances. Around 2,000 years ago, in a region ruled by the Roman Empire, a young woman named Mary and her husband Joseph were traveling to the town of Bethlehem. They traveled because the government required people to return to their hometowns for a census, which is a count of the population. Mary was pregnant, and the journey was long and uncomfortable. The roads were dusty, crowded, and full of travelers. When Mary and Joseph finally reached Bethlehem, they discovered that every place was already full. Inns were crowded, guest rooms were taken, and no one had space for them. The city was busy, noisy, and full of people looking for places to stay. In the end, Mary and Joseph found shelter in a stable, a simple place where animals slept. It was not warm, it was not clean, it was not comfortable, but it was the only place available, and that night, in the quiet darkness of a small stable, surrounded by animals and straw, Mary gave birth to a baby boy. They named him Jesus. For Christians, the story of this birth is full of meaning. According to their beliefs, this birth represented hope for the world. Even if someone does not follow Christianity, the story itself is powerful. A child arriving in the cold, humble darkness with no bed and no home, yet holding great symbolic importance. Light entering darkness, peace arriving quietly, a small beginning leading to great meaning. The story continues with shepherds who lived in the hills near Bethlehem. Shepherds were simple people with hard jobs. They often slept outside to protect their sheep from wolves and thieves. According to Christian tradition, on the night Jesus was born, angels appeared to the shepherds. The angels told them not to be afraid. They said that a child had been born who would bring peace and hope to people. The shepherds, surprised and curious, left their sheep and walked toward Bethlehem. They followed the light of the night sky and found the stable where Mary and Joseph were staying. There they saw the baby lying in a manger, a wooden box used to hold food for animals. They felt a quiet joy rise in their hearts. Far away in another chapter of the world, some wise men, sometimes called magi, were studying the stars. These wise men believed that stars could give signs about important events. One night they saw a bright and unusual star in the sky. They felt that the star was guiding them towards something significant. So they began a long journey, following the star across deserts, valleys, and mountains. Their journey took months. When they finally reached Bethlehem, they also found the child and offered gifts: gold, which symbolized value, frankincense, which represented worship, and myrrh, a perfume often used in ceremonies. These gifts were special, meaningful, and symbolic in ancient cultures. Whether someone believes this story literally or views it as a symbolic tale, the message remains beautiful. It tells us that hope can begin in the quietest and simplest places. It reminds us that even when the world feels heavy or cold, a small light can appear, bringing comfort and strength. And importantly, this birth story became a central chapter of Christian belief. Over many centuries, as Christianity spread through different regions, this story joined with older winter traditions to create something new, the celebration of Christmas. But it is important to understand something. At this point in history, people did not celebrate the birth of Jesus on December 25th. In fact, early Christians did not celebrate his birth at all. They focused on other events in his life. The exact date of Jesus' birth is not written in the Bible, and no one from that time recorded it. So, the connection between this birth story and the winter season came later, after Christianity met the ancient winter festivals. Still, the story of a child bringing light into darkness fit naturally with solstice traditions. It matched the emotional feeling people already had in winter, the desire for hope. And because this story was gentle, emotional, and full of meaning, it grew and spread across cultures. People remembered it during cold nights. They repeated it to their children. They painted it, sang about it, and shared it during winter gatherings. The nativity scene, which shows Mary, Joseph, the baby, the shepherds, and the wise men, became one of the most recognized images in history. It symbolized peace, simplicity, and love. Even today, people around the world recreate this scene using small figures or artwork. They place it in their homes, churches, or public places as a reminder of the meaning behind Christmas. This birth story did not replace the ancient festivals. Instead, it layered itself on top of them. The old themes, light, warmth, community, and hope, remained. The new story simply added a deeper emotional meaning that made winter celebrations even more powerful. Christmas became not only a celebration of the sun returning after the solstice, but also a celebration of hope returning to the human heart. Understanding this connection helps us see why Christmas became so strong. It combined human needs, warmth, food, light, belonging, with spiritual ideas, hope, peace, love. It blended cultural traditions with emotional stories. It gave people something to believe in and something to feel. This combination allowed Christmas to grow into a holiday celebrated by millions around the world, some religiously, some culturally, and some simply because they enjoy the atmosphere. Now that we understand the birth story, we can move to an important question. Why December 25th? Why did the early Christian leaders choose this date? And how did this choice transform winter celebrations forever? That is what we will explore next. Chapter 4. Why December 25 became Christmas. After understanding the birth story, the next question naturally appears. Why do people celebrate Christmas on December 25? The Bible does not mention this date. Early Christians did not celebrate Jesus' birth at all. So the connection between the nativity story and the winter season had to come from somewhere. To understand this connection, we must look at how cultures mix, how traditions transform, and how humans try to make meaning from the world around them. In the centuries after Jesus' life, Christianity began spreading across the Roman Empire. At this time, the Roman world was full of different religions, customs, and celebrations. People celebrated Saturnalia, the winter solstice, and many local festivals connected to the changing seasons. These celebrations were joyful, familiar, and deeply loved. When Christian leaders saw how important winter festivals were to people, they understood something important. If Christianity was going to grow, it needed to speak to the emotional life of the people. It needed to connect to their traditions, not fight against them. So the leaders made a meaningful choice. Around the 4th century, they officially selected December 25th as the day to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Why this date? Scholars believe there were several reasons. One reason is symbolic. December 25th comes only a few days after the winter solstice, the darkest point of the year. After the solstice, each day becomes a little brighter. Light slowly returns. Choosing December 25th allowed Christians to say that Jesus, often called the light of the world, was born just as the natural world began gaining more sunlight. It was a powerful message, one that connected nature, faith, and emotion. Another reason is cultural. By choosing December 25th, Christian leaders placed Christmas within the same season as Saturnalia and other winter celebrations. This made it easier for people to accept the new holiday. They were already used to gathering during this time, already used to exchanging gifts, lighting candles, and enjoying feasts. Instead of destroying these traditions, Christmas absorbed them. People found comfort in the familiarity. They could continue their winter customs while giving them new meaning. Over time, the old and the new blended together into a single celebration. A third reason is practical. Winter was a time when people were already at home with their families. Farming slowed down, travel became difficult, and communities stayed close together. It was a natural time for storytelling, singing, and spending time with loved ones. Placing a major celebration in this season made it stronger and easier to maintain. Even today, Christmas is one of the few moments when families around the world slow down, take breaks from work, and spend time together. As Christianity grew stronger across Europe, December 25th became more widely accepted. Churches held special gatherings called masses, which led to the name Christ's Mass, the early form of the word Christmas. People attended services, lit candles, sang songs, and thought about hope, love, and renewal. But the surrounding culture also continued to influence Christmas. Northern Europeans brought evergreen trees and Yule traditions. Romans continued giving gifts and enjoying festive meals. Local groups added their own customs, foods, dances, songs, and decorations. Christmas became a rich mixture of ideas, blending religious meaning with cultural expression. It is easy to imagine that Christmas was created by one decision or one story, but the truth is much more beautiful. Christmas grew slowly. It changed shape as it passed through different cultures. It gathered new symbols wherever it went. When people in Germany decorated evergreen trees, that became chapter of Christmas. When people in Italy prepared special foods, that became chapter of Christmas. When people in Britain told stories around the fire, that became chapter of Christmas. When people in the Netherlands talked about St. Nicholas, that became chapter of Christmas. Every culture added something, and Christmas became a celebration that felt warm, emotional, and universal. By the Middle Ages, Christmas was one of the most important festivals in Europe. In many places, it lasted for 12 days, what we now call the 12 Days of Christmas. People sang songs, shared food, visited neighbors, and helped the poor. The holiday grew in size and meaning, becoming a moment of connection between people and a reminder of the deeper values of kindness and generosity. But even with all these traditions, the heart of Christmas remained simple. It was about bringing light into darkness. Whether someone believed in the religious story or only enjoyed the cultural elements, the emotional message remained the same. In the coldest season, humans chose to create warmth. In the darkest time of year, they chose to create light. In the months when nature felt silent, they created songs, stories, and celebrations. This emotional core allowed Christmas to survive for centuries, even as societies changed. It survived wars, migration, religious differences, and political changes. It survived because it touched something universal in the human heart. People needed a moment of hope in winter, and Christmas became the answer. Today, many people around the world celebrate Christmas even if they are not Christian. They celebrate it not because of doctrine, but because of the feeling. They enjoy the lights, the music, the gifts, the food, the time with family, and the atmosphere of kindness. Christmas has grown into a global cultural moment that belongs to many different people in many different ways. Understanding why December 25th was chosen helps us see how Christmas became a bridge between old traditions and new beliefs. It reminds us that holidays are not created suddenly. They are built slowly, shaped by history, emotion, and the shared experiences of many generations. Now that we know why Christmas is celebrated in December, we can explore the tradition that grew around it. Trees, lights, gifts, and the story of Santa Claus. These traditions are full of history and meaning, and each one connects to the long journey we have been exploring. That journey continues in the next section. Chapter 5. Christmas Traditions, Trees, Lights, Gifts, and Santa. As Christmas spread across different countries and cultures, people began adding their own traditions to the celebration. Some of these traditions came from ancient winter festivals, while others were newer ideas created by families, artists, writers, and communities. Over many years, these traditions grew, changed, and blended into the warm holiday we know today. Even though Christmas is celebrated differently around the world, many of its most recognizable symbols, like Christmas trees, lights, gifts, and Santa Claus, share a deep history that connects them to older human desires for hope, warmth, and togetherness. One of the most beloved symbols is the Christmas tree. The idea of bringing greenery indoors during winter began long before Christianity. Ancient people believed evergreen trees had magical power because they stayed green even in the coldest months. They saw these trees as symbols of life, strength, and protection. In the cold northern lands, branches of evergreen trees were hung in homes to keep away bad spirits and remind people that life continued even through winter. Over time, this old custom transformed into the tradition of decorating a whole tree. The first true Christmas trees, as we understand them today, appeared in Germany in the late Middle Ages. Families brought evergreen trees into their homes and decorated them with apples, nuts, candles, and simple ornaments made from wood or straw. The candles represented light and darkness, just as ancient people used fire to push away winter's fear. As time passed, the decorations became more detailed and beautiful. Glass ornaments were invented in Germany. Strings of popcorn or dried fruit were added. When electricity was invented, candles were replaced with small lights, making the tree safer and brighter. By the 1800s, Christmas trees had spread to England and then to America. Today, decorated trees can be found in homes, shops, city squares, and even in places where Christmas was not traditionally celebrated. They remain a powerful symbol of life and warmth during winter. Another essential chapter of Christmas is light. Light has always been central to winter celebrations because winter itself is dark. When the days grow shorter, people naturally seek brightness. Ancient cultures used fires and torches. Later, people used candles. Today, we use electric lights to decorate homes, trees, streets, and buildings. No matter the form, the meaning is the same. Light represents hope. It reminds us that darkness does not last forever. In many countries, people create magnificent displays of light during the Christmas season. Streets shine with glowing decorations, houses sparkle with colorful bulbs, and trees glow with soft golden light. Children feel excitement when they see the brightness, and adults experience a warm nostalgia. The spread of lights across homes and cities connects modern celebrations with the oldest human traditions of bringing light into the darkest time of year. Another tradition that grew slowly over time is gift giving. Today, giving and receiving presents is one of the most joyful chapters of Christmas for many families. Children wait patiently, or sometimes impatiently, for the moment they can open their gifts. Adults enjoy choosing something thoughtful for the people they care about. But like many other traditions, gift giving has very old roots. Ancient Romans exchanged gifts during Saturnalia. Northern Europeans shared food, warmth, and small handmade presents during Yule. And in the Christian story, the wise men brought symbolic gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, to the newborn Jesus. As Christmas developed, gift-giving became a symbol of love, kindness, and generosity. It also reflected the deeper message of Christmas, thinking of others, showing care, and sharing what you have. In some cultures, families exchange gifts on Christmas Eve. In others, children wait for Christmas morning. In some countries, gifts arrive on different days. like January 6th in Italy or December 6th in chapters of Europe. But no matter the date, the feeling is the same. A gift says, I thought of you. You matter to me. This simple emotional message is chapter of what makes Christmas so meaningful. Of all Christmas traditions, perhaps the most famous figure is Santa Claus. Children around the world imagine a cheerful man with a red suit, a white beard, and a sleigh pulled by flying reindeer. They write letters to him, leave cookies by the tree, and wait for the magical moment when he arrives with presents. But Santa is not a single invention. He is a combination of many older ideas, stories, and characters. The earliest version of Santa comes from Saint Nicholas, a bishop who lived in the 4th century in what is now Turkey. Saint Nicholas was known for his kindness, especially toward children and the poor. According to legend, he secretly gave gifts to help those in need. This made him popular across Europe, and many stories grew around his name. In the Netherlands, he became Sinterklaas, a wise, generous figure who arrived on a horse and brought gifts in early December. In Britain, people developed another character called Father Christmas, who represented warmth, celebration, and the joy of winter feasts. Father Christmas was not originally connected to children or gifts, but over time he blended with the stories of Saint Nicholas. When Dutch settlers moved to America, they brought the idea of Sinterklaas with them. Slowly, through books, poems, drawings, and later movies, Sinterklaas transformed into the Santa Claus we know today. This transformation became especially strong in the 1800s. A famous poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas, also known as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," described Santa's appearance, his reindeer, his sleigh, and his magical ability to travel the world in one night. Later, artists like Thomas Nast added details such as Santa's workshop at the North Pole and his list of children who were naughty or nice. In the 20th century, advertisements, television, and films helped create the modern image of Santa: cheerful, warm, playful, and generous. Today, Santa is one of the most recognized characters in the world. Children wait for him, dream about him, and believe in the magic he represents. Even adults enjoy the idea of Santa because he reminds them of childhood, imagination, and the simple joy of giving without expecting anything in return. When we look at all these traditions, trees, lights, gifts, and Santa, we see that Christmas is not one story but many stories woven together. Ancient peoples celebrated the return of light. Christians told a story about hope and peace. Cultures brought their own symbols, foods, songs, and rituals. Artists added new details. Families created their own traditions. Over time, all of these elements blended into a celebration that feels both ancient and modern, familiar and magical. Each tradition carries its own history and meaning, but all of them share one message. In the coldest season, humans choose to create warmth. Christmas traditions continue to evolve even today. New ideas are added, old ones sometimes change, and each generation adapts Christmas to its own needs. But the emotional core remains the same. Christmas reminds people to slow down, to think of others, to find comfort in the darkness, and to celebrate the simple beauty of life. It tells us that even in difficult times there is room for joy, kindness, and connection. Now that we have explored the traditions of Christmas, we will travel around the world to see how different cultures celebrate this season in their own unique ways. Chapter 6. Christmas around the world. Different cultures, one feeling. Christmas is celebrated in many countries, and each place adds its own colors, sounds, foods, and traditions. Even though Christmas began in Europe and the Middle East, it has grown into a global celebration. Today, people from different religions, languages, and cultures enjoy the season. Some celebrate for religious reasons, while others celebrate for the atmosphere, the lights, the music, and the warm feeling of togetherness. What makes Christmas special is not that it is the same everywhere, but that it can be different while still expressing the same human emotions: hope, peace, and joy. In Europe, Christmas often feels like a storybook. In Germany, small Christmas markets appear in every town. Wooden stalls sell warm food, handmade toys, and candles. People drink hot spiced wine to stay warm in the cold air. Children wait for Christkind or St. Nicholas to bring gifts. In Scandinavia, places like Sweden and Norway, people celebrate with candles and long meals to fight the winter darkness. Homes glow with light, and families gather around the table to enjoy traditional dishes. In the United Kingdom, people pull Christmas crackers filled with jokes, paper crowns, and small surprises. Carols are sung in churches and on streets, and families enjoy roast dinners together. In Southern Europe, Christmas traditions are full of warmth and emotion. In Italy, families gather for a big meal on Christmas Eve called La Vigilia. Children wait for a friendly old woman named La Befana, who brings gifts on January 6th. In Spain, many families celebrate on Christmas Eve and enjoy a special parade called the Cabalgata on January 5th, where the three wise men throw candy to children. These celebrations mix Christian stories with cultural customs, creating a bright and joyful atmosphere. In Latin America, Christmas is colorful and musical. In Mexico, families celebrate Las Posadas, a nine-night festival where people reenact Mary and Joseph's journey to Bethlehem. Children carry candles and sing as they move from house to house. In Colombia and Venezuela, people celebrate with dancing, fireworks, and outdoor gatherings. Many Latin American countries enjoy a midnight meal on Christmas Eve, full of traditional foods that vary from place to place. Christmas in this chapter of the world feels energetic, lively, and full of community. In North America, Christmas combines traditions from many cultures. In the United States and Canada, people decorate their homes with lights, wreaths, and Christmas trees. Cities shine with bright displays, and families enjoy hot chocolate, movies, and time together. In many homes, Santa Claus becomes the star of the season. Children write letters to him, leave cookies by the fireplace, and wake up early on Christmas morning to open gifts. Snow is not guaranteed, but when it does appear, it adds an extra touch of magic. In Asia, Christmas has taken on new shapes. In Japan, Christmas is not a religious holiday, but a romantic and family-friendly celebration. Many people enjoy Christmas lights, cakes, and special dinners. In South Korea, Christmas is a national holiday, and people celebrate with church services, music, and decorations. In the Philippines, Christmas is one of the longest celebrations in the world, starting in September. Filipinos enjoy carols, lanterns called paroles, and large family gatherings that last until January. The season feels joyful, musical, and deeply meaningful. In Africa, Christmas traditions vary widely. In Ethiopia, Christmas, called Ghana, is celebrated on January 7th. People dress in white clothing, attend church services, and enjoy a day of community. In Ghana, Christmas includes dancing, parades, and family meals with spicy dishes. In South Africa, Christmas comes in summer, so people often gather for outdoor meals and beach trips instead of staying inside by the fire. Christmas in Africa reflects both local customs and global influences, creating celebrations filled with color and energy. In the Middle East, where the Christmas story began, celebrations continue in different forms. In Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, thousands of people gather each year to attend church services and visit historical sites. In Lebanon, families enjoy decorated trees and festive meals. Even in countries where Christmas is not widely celebrated, cities sometimes display lights, markets, or special events that reflect global culture. What is beautiful about Christmas around the world is that each culture keeps its own identity while sharing the same holiday spirit. Some places focus on food, others focus on music. Some celebrate with parades and fireworks, while others choose quiet family moments. Some open gifts at night, while others wait until morning. But everywhere, whether in snow or sunshine, in the mountains or by the sea, Christmas sends the same message. Life may be difficult, but we can make it brighter when we come together. This global variety shows how flexible and powerful Christmas truly is. It is not limited to one language or one story. It grows, adapts, and becomes chapter of local life. And no matter where it is celebrated, it brings people closer to one another. Now that we have traveled around the world, we come to the final chapter of this story, the meaning of Christmas today in the modern world, and what its message can teach us about life, hope, and human connection. Chapter 7: The Meaning of Christmas, Light, Hope, and Human Connection. After traveling through history, culture, and traditions, we reach the heart of Christmas, its meaning. Christmas is not just a date, not just a story, and not only a collection of customs. It is a human expression of something deeper, the desire for light in darkness, warmth in cold times, and connection in a world that often feels uncertain or lonely. Throughout history, winter has symbolized difficulty. The nights grow long, the days short, and nature becomes quiet. Ancient people lit fires to push away the darkness. Early Christians told a story about a child bringing peace and hope. Modern cultures decorate their homes with lights, give gifts, and gather together. These different actions all share one purpose: to remind us that we can create brightness even when the world feels dim. Christmas teaches us that small things can carry great meaning. A single candle can light a dark room. A simple meal can bring comfort to a family. A quiet moment with someone we love can warm the heart more than the largest celebration. Christmas encourages people to slow down, breathe deeply, and remember the things that matter most: kindness, generosity, and human connection. One of the strongest messages of Christmas is the value of giving. Giving is not only about presents, it is about attention, care, and time. A gift can be a smile, a helping hand, or a message to someone who feels alone. When we give, we say, "You are important to me." This simple act creates a bridge between hearts. For many people, Christmas becomes the moment when they reconnect with old friends, apologize for misunderstandings, or reach out to someone who needs support. These gestures may be small, but their impact is deep. Another important chapter of Christmas is memory. For adults, the season often brings back childhood moments: the sound of wrapping paper, the smell of food cooking, the glow of lights in the evening. These memories connect us to our past and to the people who shaped our lives. For children, Christmas creates new memories that will stay with them for years. The magic of the season gives them a sense of wonder, comfort, and imagination. Christmas also invites reflection. As the year ends, people look back at what they experienced, the challenges they faced, the successes they earned, the moments that changed them. They also look forward, hoping for a better year ahead. This quiet reflection makes Christmas a time of emotional balance where we accept the past and prepare for the future. In the modern world, Christmas continues to evolve. Technology changes how we communicate. Cities grow faster. Life becomes busier. But the emotional purpose of Christmas remains the same: to bring people together. Whether through video calls, messages, shared meals, or community events, the season offers a chance to reconnect. Even people who do not celebrate Christmas religiously often take chapter in the spirit of kindness and generosity that fills the season. Christmas also reminds us that hope does not need to be loud. It can be quiet, gentle, and soft. It can appear in the calm voice of a loved one, in a warm hug, or in a peaceful walk on a winter night. It teaches us that no matter how difficult life becomes, there is always a light somewhere, sometimes outside, sometimes inside ourselves, sometimes in the people we care about. At its deepest level, Christmas is a celebration of humanity. It tells us that we share more similarities than differences. All around the world, no matter the culture or language, people want the same things: love, safety, belonging, and hope. Christmas gives people a moment to celebrate these values openly and joyfully. And so, as this story comes to an end, remember the universal message Christmas carries. In darkness, we create light. In cold times, we create warmth. And in a lonely world, we create connection. These actions are not limited to December. They can be practiced every day. Christmas simply reminds us how powerful they are.